In today's agenda, we will see why application performance monitoring is very important and how Applications Manager can help you to achieve the same. We will then see how you can discover application, create dependency mapping, and manage various business service using monitor groups and various user roles to manage different stakeholders. Let's take a simple web application architecture. So as per the image, you can see various application components are being used, where host server, database server, application server, web proxy server are being used. So if you talk to any IT administrator, you would hear the most common challenges like how to identify the root cause for slow running application due to memory leak, what process consuming server resources, is there any SQL query in the application taking more time to execute, reports that need to be taken and sent out to the management, notify concerned team about a problem immediately before an end user reports, which are very essential for ideal infrastructure management. Quite often, you might need different monitoring tools to get uptime on server reports, applications, database. A tool for dashboard and another for notifying to the concerned team. So for any administrator, they will look forward to build a viable monitoring platform that can measure or monitor the monitoring points, learn about application performance, and report to the end user if there are any issues. And more importantly, timely and performance reports or capacity planning reports need to be obtained. Now, coming to the Applications Manager. Application Manager is a single integrated platform to monitor your entire application ecosystem. So, underlying infrastructure components such as application servers, databases, big data store, middleware and messaging components, web server, services, ERP package, virtual system, and cloud resources can be monitored. Application Manager is a single install and database architecture, and no need for IT operation to support multiple products. And more importantly, it's agentless. Application Manager is a one tool to monitor your 100+ apps, and we have categorized them based upon their functionality. So based on type wise, we have categorized. For example, let's take database server type. So almost the RDBMS, NoSQL, or OLAP type of database are categorized under database server type. Likewise, we have servers, application, middleware, ERP, etc. Once downloaded and ready to use, the first thing is to discover all the application that an administrator wants to monitor. So using one of the options available in Applications Manager, one can add the resources. The first option that we have is manual addition, where you need to add a monitor one at a time. For example, let's take you have 10 different servers. So you can add those 10 servers one by one. Now let's say you have hundreds of Windows servers. So adding one by one, it's time consuming. For this, we have bulk import, where we can add similar type of monitor. And the third option is auto discovery. We are going to see about the auto discovery in detail. So using bulk import, you would be able to add monitor of the same type in bulk by giving all the configuration detail in a CSV file. For this, let me take you to the product UI and show how this is done. Let me click on the admin tab. Under discovery and data collection, add or discover. The first option, add, is to add the monitor manually one by one, and bulk import is the second option. So based upon the monitor type, we have given various resources here. For example, let me type HTTP URL monitor. And for all the type, we have given an example CSV file. So let me go ahead and download this file. Let me open up in this folder and open that CSV file and show you what information that we have for this particular monitor. And then once the details are provided, let me bring that Excel sheet here. So here we have 4 URLs that we have already predefined and given as an example, and you have other information that you can directly enter in the CSV file once you have the data. So like username, password, in case if the website needs username and password, you can do content check, you can enter the post submission method, and in case if you want to directly associate it to any group, you can also give the group ID. Now let me just minimize this and choose the file. All right, so let me click on next. So the data that we have entered in the CSV file will be displayed here. And if you have entered any password in the CSV file, it will be in encrypted format. So once we have entered the information, we can click on Start Discovery. And we'll have the option to see the logs if the monitors were added successfully or not. So let me click on this. And you can see that the URL link that we have provided in the CSV file has been added successfully. And if we go to the monitor page, we'll be able to see those 4 URL monitors has been added for monitoring. So under web server and services, we have HTTP URL monitors. And each of this URL will show the related performance metrics of response time, page load time, last byte, first byte, etc. Now, let me go back to the presentation. The next option is application discovery, which allows an administrator to discover all the resources, application, server, database, etc. in an IT infrastructure. To begin discovery process, one of the following option can be used based on IP range, CIDR, or vCenter. vCenter allows an administrator to discover resources in an entire VMware virtual infrastructure. And before we provide the IP range or CIDR or vCenter, first we need to define the credentials that are used to monitor, because as I mentioned earlier, application manager is an agentless monitoring solution, and in order to connect to the remote resource, we need the credential in place, so that once we connect to the remote resource, we validate the credential, and based on that the data will be collected. So we have to define credential manager, and the password that are saved in the credential list are in encrypted format. So once the credential range is given, we need to mention the ports where application components are running. And since most of the organization won't use the default port, we can come to this particular place and enter the customized port used by each other application resources. Now, once we start the discovery, Applications Manager will check for the available IP range, the port that has been defined, and based upon the netstat command, we gather the information about the application, and the credential is matched with Applications Manager and added to the product. So once the application discovery is complete, we show the host machine and the resources that are configured in that particular machine. Now, let me switch to UI and show you a quick demo on that. So let me click on Admin tab, Add or Discover, Discovery. Let me click on the Add New button. Let me provide the IP range, and I'm just going to take a few of the port. Now configure port, and here we have an option where we can disable or enable the port that are being used. So for instance, let's say I don't want few of the applications component to be discovered, so we can enable and disable the port here. So for instance, if you see, I'm just going to disable certain ports, and the Nginx server running in that particular one of the machine is customized to use 3200. So I can enable and disable the port, and I can leave for a second so that these ports are saved. Let me close this and click on Discover. Before that, we need to provide the name. So let me provide a name here and start the discovery. So as I mentioned, Application Manager is trying to check the available range. It executes the netstat command, and based upon the available port, the applications will get added in Applications Manager. So this is going to take few minutes based upon the number of IP range that you have, and that will get added in Applications Manager. So almost it is showing like around 70% is done, and you can see the number of devices added is 2 and applications that are discovered is 5. So now once that is done, we'll add and show you the discovered application and servers. Now, if I scroll up, you can see that the host APM3 has 4 different application components. And you might be wondering what is this question mark and why this host name is configured. Because the reason is we haven't configured the credential for this particular host. Hence, this is categorized under unknown category. Now, let me switch back to the presentation. Now that we have discovered monitors, the next step is to configure the relationship between various application components, and we call it as dependency mapping. Now, mapping is very important because you will be able to see the holistic view of discovered applications. You can do certain modification in the business view itself. You can see the live status of running application, and even you can identify if there are any issue in the component right away. The business view displays all the connection between various associated components in the IT infrastructure. This way, you can view the component associated with a particular application and quickly locate faulty devices. Instead of having to browse through the entire infrastructure, once the issue is identified, you are ready to troubleshoot. Now, let me switch back to the product. Now, let me just duplicate the product and show you the discovered devices here. So as you can see in the category view, we have Nginx discovered, we have Windows Server that are discovered, and 2 different Tomcat and Postgres database. Now, the next is to create and check if there are any dependency. For this, we can click on View Dependency Map. Let me close this tab. This will take us to a page where we can create a business service. So let me name it as, and using the filter by option, I can create this business service name. Either I can select all monitors, or I can select monitors that has connection. So when I select monitors with connection, I have these 2 servers. One is Postgres database server and Tomcat application server. So I can select it and proceed to create the business service. So this will give us a holistic view of the business service that we created and the components that are connected to that particular business service or that has connection. Now let me go ahead and create this business service, and a monitor group is created with the status of it. So as I said, when we create a business, we can directly check the root cause instantly. So if you click on any of the monitor that has issue, you will get the root cause of it instantaneously. Now, let me switch back to the presentation. Having discovered the application and configured the dependency, the next logical step is to create a logical view of heterogeneous IT infrastructure. So this can be done using monitor groups. Monitor group is a handy concept that enables you to seamlessly organize your monitor resources and ease administration. It lets you organize based upon geography, business application, type, ownership, and more. So let's imagine a particular service in a particular location, and you want to create that group. So based upon the location, you can put all those servers in it. And with this way, it will be much more convenient to monitor. Now, creating a monitor group is simple. We just need to follow the instruction. And once the group is created and monitors are associated to it, you will be able to see the holistic view of those components and the health status or availability status of those components that are associated to this group. Now, let me just quickly take you to the UI and show you what other information or how we can create a monitor group. So let me just scroll up. On the left top corner, we have new monitor group. Let me click on it. Let's click monitor group. I'm gonna name it as backend. And here you might be wondering, what is this owner? This is going to be our last topic, so I'll be revisiting this page again and show you what this owner means. Right now, I'm just leaving it as blank, and I'm going to create the group. Once the group is created, the next step is to associate the monitors. So let me click the option here. Now we have option to choose the monitor type. We can use filter by, or if you want to search it, you can even search and add the monitor. So we can either select it from here. So, but let me just pull out a few of the servers type. So let's take Windows, and I'm going to add this one particular server. Let me click on associate. So you can see that the server is moved to the right hand side. Similarly, let me take a URL monitor. Let me select one of the URL. Now we have added two monitors. So let me go back to the monitor group. And here you can see the metrics of the availability and health status of the monitors, and that is affecting the monitor group status. Now, this is with respect to individual monitor. Let me switch back to the presentation. Now, what if you have hundreds of monitor groups? How you can manage those monitor groups and view them in a holistic view? For this, we have something called as dashboard. We can create various customized dashboard based upon a user choice, and by this, customers can pinpoint the issue. They can directly drill down to the root cause of a particular critical alert that has been raised. Now, this we are going to talk about in detail in week 4. The next and the last topic of our today's training is user management. So setting up user role in Applications Manager is simple. We have 5 different roles apart from the default administrator or super administrator. So we have administrator, delegated administrator, user, operator, and manager role. User role will have read-only access to all the components that are discovered or added in Applications Manager. Operator role is again a read-only access, but to a specific monitor groups. We can associate groups for those operator role. Manager is related to the upper management, where they can log in and see the service level agreement and business service, how it is performing. So we have these 3 roles as read-only, and the administrator role has the power to do the modification in the product. So the normal administrator will have access to all the component. That user can do modification. The delegated administrator, where you can associate certain monitor groups, and the monitors that are associated within that group, this delegated administrator can perform the task, and not for all other discovered devices. Now, apart from the user role, we have options where you can import users from Active Directory, user group, and we have also provided an option where you can even give permission to operator role. For this, let me quickly take you to the product UI. Let me click on admin tab. So under admin, we have user management under product settings. So here by default, this will be the super administrator when you install the product. Now, if you want to add a user, we need to click on add new user. Let me give a name. Let me enter the password. Now, when you see the user role, we can create the user role to have read-only access. So let me create this, and let me just log out and log in as user and click on login. So here you can see all the monitor types, its availability and health status, and even you can pull out the reports. But the thing is, you can't edit a monitor, you can't do any modification in the tool. So that's the read-only access. Let me log out and create an operator role and show you the difference. User management. And let me just edit this same user, and instead of the user role, let me change it to operator. So when I click on operator, and if I scroll down, you can see an additional information, select monitor group. So if I select like payroll backend, and if I update the user and log in, the monitors that are associated to the payroll backend will be only accessed by this operator. Now, there are scenarios where the stakeholders or those whom you are associating as operator role may have to perform certain tasks. For this, under permission tab, let me just cancel this. Under permissions tab, we have provided an option for operator to perform certain tasks. So super administrator can allow a particular operator to do certain tasks. And this is global. So once you create an operator role, this will be applied to all the operator role. Now, coming back to the profiles, let me again add a new, and this time let me choose the administrator. Administrator. So here, if I click on the role administrator, as I said, we have the control over all the monitor types. Now, if I select the delegated administrator, here I have an option only to selected monitor groups. Let's take, I'm clicking on servers, and let me create this user. Now I have the delegated administrator and the servers created. Now let me go back to the monitor group creation page and show you the information that I was talking about earlier. Let me click on monitor group, and on the left hand side you can see the available users. So while creating the monitor group itself, you can associate the owner for that particular group. So let's say I'm creating a group and I'm just selecting the delegated administrator only for this group. And now let me create the group. Click here to associate the monitors. Let me randomly select one of the monitor and go back to the monitor page, monitor group page. Now, if I click on the admin tab and again go back to the user management under product settings, the delegated administrator will have this group associated. Now, if I log in with the delegated administrator, I can only see the monitors that are associated in these two groups, and I can perform the task on those two groups. Now, this is local to the applications manager. Now, what if you want to import it from the Active Directory? For this, you need to add the domain first. So here, either you can add it as read-only access, only for user and operator and manager, and full control, that includes administrator too. Now, once the Active Directory is added, we can go to the Profiles tab and click on Import User from Active Directory. So I can select the domain and enter the password for that particular domain. So let me try the password and click on Fetch User. So this will fetch the user detail, and after that we need to verify which user that you want to add. So I can select and choose that particular user to be an operator, and I can select the monitor group right away and add the user. So once you log out and log in with your AD password, the user with operator role can see the monitors that are associated in the groups that we have associated. Now let me go back to the presentation. With this, we are in end of our session. So let's quickly recap of what we have seen in today's session. We have seen why application performance management and monitoring tool is required and important. We have seen how Applications Manager can help you out to auto discover your application components and dependency mapping. How you can create various business service using monitor groups to manage, and various user roles.